Niisiis, teeme algust. Tere
So
tulemast.
let's get going. Welcome.
Tõesti, suur rõõm teid näha.
It's a pleasure to see you all. And I'm really glad that when we started our international web seminars in 2022, we can now focus on learning from other countries. And this is a topic that is very interesting, and so we took this decision that we will continue with our seminars. And the objective of Euroguidance is that we learn about this experience and we can improve our competencies and our professionalism. And as a community of career counselors, we include everyone who is included, so we have quite a range of participants of different educational institutions, and most of you, 60%, seem to work with students from lower secondary schools. So today we will talk about career guidance and counseling and career education in Finland, and I'm glad to introduce our presenters today who are very willing to share their experience. And our first presenter is Outi Uksulainen from the University of Jyväskylä, and she has had a very long background and experience in this topic, in cooperation, European career policies, and lately she has also dealt with the professionalism of career counselors. So we will probably meet Outi again. And as practitioners, we have Laia Salo-Inevado and Pia Ranna. They have also been connected to universities. Pia is from Haaga-Helia, and she deals with teacher training, career specialists, counselors, trains them, and as a practitioner, she has worked in secondary schools. And Laia is connected to Helsinki and the university in Helsinki, and I'm sure that their experience will enrich our seminar. This is our plan, so we have three sort of blocks. Outi will start and talk about her research that focused on lower secondary schools, and then Pia and Laia are a tandem and they will introduce the practices from Finland. We'll take a little break in between just to stretch ourselves, perhaps grab some water or some coffee, and we'll also draw some conclusions, so hopefully we'll be wrapping up by 4 o'clock. Just some practical points. I will just like to tell you that in case of questions, we will be using the chat box. With Outi and Laia, we have agreed that in case you'd like to interrupt, and they will be picking up the questions from chat, but at the end of each block we will have a Q&A session, so you can open your microphone and maybe have a little discussion, but please raise your hand, because there are quite a few of us, so that we can organize the microphone opening from our moderator's side. We also have interpreting provided. I hope this also gives a chance to listen to those, for those who say that international cooperation is not for me, but we do have then interpretation provided into Estonian and English. And I would like to show you the next slide, which helps you how to use the interpretation on Zoom. So if you'd like to listen to English, that's fine. Just listen to the English main audio. And if you'd like to listen to the Estonian interpretation, there's this globe sign, and you can choose then the interpretation that you're listening into. Is there anything else that I forgot from the practical side, but I think not. So in case you do have questions, please enter them into the chat and we will find the answers together. Oudi, the floor is yours. So please share your experience from Jyväskylä.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Margit. I understood what you said in Estonian. It's not good for myself. But thank you for inviting me to speak to you this afternoon. I'm autori, and I work as a doctoral researcher and a project manager at the Finnish Institute for Educational Research at the University of Jyväskylä here in Finland. It's a real pleasure to be talking to you this afternoon. Like Marki said, I worked on lifelong guidance matters for a while, for about 14 years or something. And most recently, I've worked on professionalization of the career profession. Our lifelong guidance team here at the Finnish Institute for Educational Research has produced a national competency framework for career professional. Many of you might find it interesting, and I encourage you to take a look at it. I'll post the link to it a little bit later in the chat. But that's not our topic today. Instead, we'll talk about career education in Finnish basic education. And my presentation draws on from an article that was published in the Nordic Journal of Transitions, Careers and Guidance a few years ago. I'm a member of the Nordic Career Education Network, and together with our team of Nordic colleagues, we wrote an article to compare career education in different Nordic countries. And the results were actually quite surprising. You might think that given that the Nordic countries are, at least relatively speaking, quite similar in many ways, that there wouldn't be a lot of differences in the ways in which career education is arranged. But that's actually not the case. Now let's turn to the second slide. Finland is actually quite exceptional case, even among the Nordic countries. The career education in Finland has an established and systematic and a strong position, both on paper, as in legislation, in curriculum documents and so on, and also in practice, as at the local level and at the level of an individual school. And I'm going to use a comparison table from the article that I just mentioned to quickly introduce to you the key features of Finnish career education in basic education. Let's turn on to the next slide then. Now here's the table. All Finnish basic education students have a legal right to career guidance. The Basic Education Act states that all pupils are entitled to adequate career guidance services. And these services are designed and delivered by professional guidance counselors. Their qualification criteria are regulated and they are set in the Decree on Qualification Requirements for Teaching Staff. So it's set in legislation. And the decree states that all guidance counselors must have either a master's degree in school counseling or to be a qualified teacher, and on top of that, have an extra 60 ECTS postgraduate diploma in school counseling. Also, all school counselors have a duty to keep up with their continued professional development, and that's actually included in their work contracts and in the collective work agreements that they have. So that they have a certain number of days in a year, varying from about 1 to 5, depending on the contract, for participating in CPD, so continued professional development activities throughout the year. And all class and subject teacher programs, their training programs, also include career learning and guidance topics. So all teachers, not just guidance counselors, but all teachers are at least familiar with career education and are able to integrate it into their own teaching. And now, career education as such is its own mandatory subject in lower secondary school, so from grades 7 to 9. And in grades 1 to 6, career education is integrated into the normal class teaching. we have a national curriculum for career education, and it's set by the National Board of Education. Now, this national curriculum defines the objectives and the core content. And then local education providers, for their part, then complement this national core curriculum by drawing up local curricula and annual plans on the basis of the national curriculum. And they take into account any local emphasis, the results of previous school evaluations, any development or project work, for instance, that they've engaged in, and so on. So there is a national curriculum for career education in Finland, but it is locally adapted. And the curriculum in the lower secondary school includes 76 hours of timetabled career education classes, as well as work experience placements. Now, these work experience placements, they are mandatory. They start at grade 7 with 2 days. Then in grade 8, there's a 1 week. And then in grade 9, there's 1 week to 2 weeks. It's up to the local education provider to decide how long the work experience placement is in the final year of basic education. Now, let's go to the next slide. Yes, excellent. The school counselors in Finland, they have an important role in lower secondary school, not just in delivering those career education classes that we just talked about, but also in organizing and coordinating cooperation. Cooperation is the operative word, if you, no pun intended here. They cooperate with the school principals, the other subject teachers, and other teachers in their schools and other schools, with the local labor market and the business community, the upper secondary education providers, obviously the parents, the one-stop guidance centers, the Ohjaamo that we have in here in Finland, and all other relevant stakeholders. So cooperation in career education is really multi-sectoral, and it extends well beyond the actual school. And the school counselors are at the heart of it, leading this cooperation. And I need a sip of water, having this monologue on for a while, need water. So you could say that school counselors are really cooperation professionals, if you like. I think that's a good way of thinking about it. And if a student's well-being requires it, the school counselors are also involved in multi-sectoral welfare work, which includes the local social and health authorities, in addition to school staff like school psychologists and school social workers. The school guidance counselors also coordinate and support the students in their work experience placements. But importantly, career education is not left to the guidance counselors alone. The Finnish lower secondary schools employ the so-called whole school approach, which means that subject teachers ensure that they link their own subject teaching to the overall career learning objectives. So, for instance, a physics teacher does not only teach physics, but also study skills and other transferable skills, as well as pointing out how these skills that the students learn in the physics classroom can be used in a variety of other settings in the future. Now, when it comes to quality and evaluations, the national curriculum is the starting point. But as you already know, each education provider prepares their own local plan, which must include evaluation and quality monitoring provisions through, for instance, self-evaluations and surveys. But the focus here is not on monitoring and control as such, but on developing and supporting the schools and their provisions. And the National Board of Education has also published guidelines for good guidance, and the schools use them in evaluating their own plans. But let's take a look at the next slide. But why is this? Why has Finland got such a model of a career education system? Well, the key word here is systematic. Career education in Finland could be described as systemic. My colleague, Professor Jaana Kettunen, has with some other colleagues analyzed career specialists' conceptions of lifelong guidance systems, and based on their analysis, they developed a conceptual framework. And if we turn to the next slide, here you can actually see the framework. I'm not going to go through this framework in detail, but what it basically shows that in career experts' understanding of systems of lifelong guidance development, there are certain key themes that make up the system. And in lifelong guidance, these systems are, as you can see listed there, legislation, strategic leadership, cooperation, delivery, professionalization, and evidence of impact. And within these themes, there are different aspects that differentiate the categories that range from the least developed to the most complex and most developed. So if we, for instance, take the top row, legislation, in the most minimal case, legislation would be non-existent. There will be no legislation at all that would be related to career education. And then it will become more and more developed until in the most sophisticated system, the legislation would be explicit. Now, in an article which was published as a part of the same collection of the Nordic Journal of Transitions, Careers and Guidance, Jaana took this framework and analyzed the Finnish national policy and curriculum documents on career education in lower secondary school against this framework. So the actual, the papers, and studied them against this framework and found that it aligns very closely with the most advanced category here, the systemic. So from our quick survey just a moment ago, I'm sure you'll agree that when it comes to legislation on career education in Finland, it's explicit. The strategic leadership is shared, the cooperation is multisectoral, and the delivery of career education is horizontally coordinated with the guidance counselors at the heart of it. The professionalization is regulated, and there's systematic use of evidence. So there you go, systemic and systematic, that's the key word. Now, what lies at the root of this state of affairs in Finland? Why is career education in Finland so systemic? Well, it could be all traced back all the way back to the 1960s and 70s. That was the time the post-war economic reconstruction was going on, and there was a transition from a largely agrarian society to an industrialized society. And the politicians realized at the time that to foster transition from an agrarian society to an industrialized society and to foster economic growth, what was needed was a skilled and adaptable workforce. So in came school reform, which was enshrined in the 1968 Comprehensive School Act. And this was a complete overhaul of the Finnish education systems. There had been, for instance, inequalities in the previous system with rigid tracking from early on and lots of local variation of what was taught where, depending on where the students lived. But with the school reform, it did away with all of that tracking and unified the basic education so that all kids went to the same school and the curriculum was standardized. And for us today, what's important is that career education was a key component of that reform. Career guidance and counseling became a compulsory part of curriculum already then. Its role was formalized and strengthened. The national curriculum for career education was developed, but importantly, already then, there was a significant degree of local autonomy, both at the level at the local level and at the school level, and also at the level of the individual school counselor. So this implies that there's a high level of trust in qualified professionals to know their local circumstances, to know their students, and to know the needs of their students. And the reform brought with it also a huge need for professionally qualified guidance counselors. There hadn't been that many before, but now with the reform, there's a huge need for professionally qualified guidance counselors. So the counselor education was established in the universities. So the value of having educated professionals delivering career education, it was recognized already at that time. So you could say, all in all, that there was a recognition of the importance of career education in that school reform in 1968, and we're still reaping the benefits of that today. And now in the next slide, here are some references if you'd like to read more about career education in the Nordic countries and Finland. And all that remains for me to do is to thank you very much for your time and for your interest. And now, Margit, over to you again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Audi. Bravo. Really want to applause. Very clear and very nice to follow your clear speech, and really admire the Finnish dedication, like you said, from 60s, 70s already to establish a systematic approach. So now I'm asking our listeners if you have any questions. I don't have any in the chat, but we have a couple of minutes for questions. So just raise your hand and we will open your mic.
And also, I'm sure if questions come to your mind a little bit later, I'm here with you till the end, so we can also discuss and answer your questions a little later.
Indeed, that would be fine as well. I guess actually that our practitioners are really eager to know how it looks, how this all looks in practice. So the legislation is there, the competence development is supported, and many other important parts of the basis to have a great system, but how to actually implement it in practice and what is happening in the classroom, that's important for practitioners. I was only wondering that in Estonia we have recently developed a guideline for schools as well. You mentioned that your national board has developed a guideline for school, and this is used like regular material to reflect and to consider further developments. Would you share that with us?
Yes, of course. I can
yes,
share.
This would be lovely. Yes. And my second question was really about your example, how the physics teacher implements career education in the classroom. And this is a big challenge, I guess, not only in Estonia and Finland, but across Europe and globally. So how this can happen actually in the classroom. So yeah, maybe this is something we can build on in the future, and maybe Pia and Laia can share bits of it as well. There is one question.
Mm-hmm.
I will translate it myself then.
Yes.
Signe is asking, we know that Finns are the most happy people. And do you see any connection with career education in schools and happiness in Finland?
Well, highly scientific, educated guess is that they would be related, because obviously having great career management skills that the students will develop as a result of this wonderful career education system, it gives you a sense of empowerment. And obviously being empowered and being comfortable in your life is obviously adds to your happiness. So yes, from a completely educated guest point of view, I'd say that they are related.
Yes, and we have a question from Kristina actually. I will read it loud so you have it. Finnish system is really impressive and has been a great inspiration for us as well. But what would you say is the biggest challenge in career education in Finland, or where you aim next?
I would say that one of the biggest challenges is probably to keep it up, to ensure that we continue and keep on building the case for why is it important, why it's important to keep career education as a compulsory subject on its own in the curriculum in basic education. As I'm sure you're aware, there are lots of different pressures on educators to include lots of new things in the curriculum. So to keep on arguing and making the case of why it is important to have career education in the curriculum and in basic education, I think that will be, one of the bigger challenges.
Thank you. Okay, it seems like current questions and answers session is finished. And like Audi said, she will be here with us until the very end, so we can build links with the systems development and practices at a later stage as well.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, Audi. Okay, now I have Laia and Pia on the screen, so you are all welcome to start.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for this opportunity to give this presentation for you. We are both very excited and happy for this opportunity. As Margit mentioned in the beginning, I understood some Estonian, so please write the questions to the chat, and she can sometimes interrupt the presentation. So please feel free to write the questions at any time. We will shortly introduce ourselves. So I am Pia Ranna, and I work in Haaga-Helia School of Professional Teacher Education as a principal lecturer. I am also teaching in a career counselor program, which is this 30 ECTS program. And before, I have been working as a guidance counselor in a Finnish comprehensive school. I noticed actually Outi used the word career counselor, but we see it as the same term. We use the term guidance counselor, but it's the same thing. So before in my work, my students, they were from 13 to 15-year-old students.
And hello, everyone. My name is Laia. I'm also a guidance counselor in an upper secondary school in Helsinki, a public school that is a school with the students from 16 to 19-year-olds. And I've been a counselor for many years before being now in upper secondary school. I was in lower secondary school. And at the same time, I'm a researcher, affiliated researcher for University of Helsinki. And my career brought me all the way to counseling, starting from kindergarten teaching and being a pedagogue. Yes. Today, what we're going to do, just a very short display of what we're going to present today is going to be just a brief overall view of the whole Finnish education system and what happens with the counseling. So on the way, going into details into what Outi has presented before. And then on the second part, we're going to have a bit more even hands-on examples and more details that we considered with Pia that would be relevant for the topic for today.
Yes, but we would like to start by activating a bit and getting to the topic. So we would like to know that who has guided your career during your life? Like, who is the first person that comes to your mind, or it can be even something else than a person. But if you can kindly write to chat if there is someone who has guided. And you can write in both languages, it's okay.
So there's parents, teachers and parents, teachers, friends, mother, guided.
Models in life, role models, parents, teachers.
Okay, and there's
partners,
also
thesis supervisor.
Yes.
Myself, following instincts.
My mother, who made sure that I become a musician and that I would finish my education. When I was young, it was my family members, later myself, when I started analyzing myself.
Somebody was saying that mother who was checking that the music school is followed nicely.
Yes.
But in Estonian, same role models.
Colleagues,
like in English.
Random people who have made me think about my life.
And sometimes also people, they don't know, so they have given some food for thought. For Krista, for example, yeah, and being curious, exchange, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so mostly it was like parents and teachers, and then also a bit colleagues, and then myself, but many different things in a way. And usually when we ask this question, we get a very similar answer. Like there's maybe also, well, like people is that like parents and teachers. It's the most common answer maybe to this, but also coincidences, also social norms can guide the career choices, dreams, random people, study counselors, employment service staff, limits in the education system, the need to survive economically, like it can be also this driving force. But so these are actually answers that Finnish people have given. I don't know if there is anything interesting for you, but it's not any specific study, just when we have asked this question before. So yeah, the conclusion is that so many different things in a way, and different people. But then we would like to ask you a second question, that what do you see as the main goal of guidance and counseling in schools? If you would imagine there is a career counselor in the school, how would you define his or her main task or main goal? What would it be? What's your opinion? You can write your answer again to the chat.
We have self-awareness. Thank you, Kadri. Awareness of possibilities, help a student realize who or she, who are they.
Hela is saying that building links between education and life, support with different choices, how to make choices.
Then connecting self with opportunities, building pathway to your goals. Yes.
Self-awareness again, opportunities, choices that are, awareness rate, aware, the good choices, yeah. Offer some security and calmness so that everything will go smoothly.
Self-awareness, showing different possibilities in education and labor market, or how to get to know different options and support the decisions. Supporting curiosity, research, and self-reflection. Okay.
Yeah, from these answers, we can actually see that you are career counselors, most of you. It's so very, how to say, analytic and nice answers in a way. But also we see that it's not only this making choice of between careers that career counselors are doing in schools, and later we get back to that. But now we are going forward.
I think this, just 1 second, because I think this, for some reason, no worries, I'm moving forward. Here we are, yes.
So we are going to take a look at Finnish education system and guidance counseling a bit more. And here you have maybe familiar picture, you have maybe similar pictures of your education system. And we have marked here places where student counselors actually, or guidance counselors are working. So we have marked them with these yellow dots. So already in basic education, we have these career counselors who are working from 7th to 9th grade, as Outi mentioned. And then from that on, they are in each level, maybe with some different names, but in any case, they are there. And yeah, okay.
Was I too fast? Sorry. This picture, the previous picture actually supports us, as Pia said, exactly what Outi brought up, that the person as a counselor is everywhere. But if we talk about what is career guidance in Finland, it's not a punctual thing. One of the most important things that we thought with Pia that we would like to bring up is the idea that it's a planning journey. It's a continuous it's a lifelong process that goes to the future. Okay, and yes, it brings up exactly all the things that you pointed out in the chat, like the self-awareness, the exploring opportunities, and building the skills that you need to be able to navigate to manage after life. And then here comes a little bit of a controversy, because we have the individual choices and then we have the society's needs. And of course, we need to see what are we doing. In Finland, it's very important that it comes from what the student, what are their choices? And for that, for making informed decisions on the choices, you need to be informed, you need to know, and that's where it comes. Yes. That's what we thought. It's very, very important. Then if we continue, we as Outi back again was telling who is actually in charge of this guidance. And it starts in very early years with elementary education from when students are 7 to 12 years old. Basically, it's the classroom teachers. So there is no counselor around in the school, but the teachers they have it embedded in part of the curriculum in what they're supposed to be teaching this guidance. And the whole school approach that Outi mentioned, it's all the time present. So that means that everybody who's dealing with the students, specifically teachers, but of assistants or special education teachers, whoever is involved in the life of a student, needs to take part of that. And then we move on to what happens when the student turns 13, so 13 to 15, the lower secondary. Then we have the figure, pling, of a counselor. We are trained and we are there, and each school has at least one counselor. We are aiming at having 150 students per counselor, but at the moment the numbers are a little bit bigger. We take care of lessons and we also do individual support. And on top of the guidance counselor, there is the homeroom teacher who's also supporting and counseling at the same time the subject teachers, and a team, the welfare service team, which includes a psychologist, a social worker, a nurse, and this team is also helping with the counseling. Then we move on to upper secondary school. In upper secondary school, we also have the figure of the counselors. Every school has one. The numbers go a little bit higher. At the moment, currently, for example, I'm having 225 students under my supervision, under my responsibility. But the whole school approach continues. This means that subject teachers and group supervisors also offer guidance. Parallel to upper secondary school, we have vocational school, the professional school, and there also guidance counselors, subject teachers, and the guidance that the students can get on the job learning periods, the practices that they are doing. Going even further, we have the higher education. So in universities and applied science universities, in the old times we used to call them polytechnics, guidance counselors and subject teachers are also the responsibles by law to offer this guidance. But we thought that one of the, now something happens. Let's go to the next slide. We thought with Pia that, okay, this picture for us represents a little bit, or not a little bit, basically totally, the idea of the Finnish guidance counseling. So everything is student-centered, and at the same time, everybody has the cooperation. There's a network doing that counseling. So here we try to put a picture where you can see the student in the middle and all the different actors that has something to do with the counseling. So the guidance counselor, of course, and the principal, the group supervisor or homeroom teacher, subject teachers, both in comprehensive school, in basic education and in upper secondary education. And then the student welfare, health care staff, like the ones I just mentioned, the psychologist, the social worker, and the nurse, or then as well the special education teacher. And it's a network, it's a cooperation. It's not like one person role. Yes.
Okay, now we jump to a bit different topic, but Outi also mentioned this, but it's nice to have a little bit repetition and go a bit deeper to this topic. So how to become a qualified guidance counselor in Finland. So there are these two options, and actually these are not from some official document, this text. It's just written with my own words, so how I see this in a way. So this option 1 is this 60 ECTS in guidance counseling, which is offered at schools of professional teacher education. So they are located at the Finnish Universities of Applied Sciences. And here is a list of these five universities of applied sciences where you can study that. And in Hämeenlinna, you can also study that in English. And they are, there is a difference between these 5. Some are maybe mostly online or remote studies, virtual studies, and some can be like we have here in Haaga-Helia. We are mostly in Helsinki. We have 10 sessions of 2 days, and 2 of them are online or virtual. So we are mostly in Helsinki. We meet here. In a way, these all are flexible because they can be completed while working. And typical participants to these programs, they are teachers who are transitioning into counseling roles. So they have been maybe teaching in, for example, vocational institute, and then they get this feeling they want to be guidance counselors, and then they apply here. Then the second option is to do this whole master's program in guidance and counseling, which is offered at 3 different universities. So there is the Jyväskylä University, University of Eastern Finland in Joensuu, and then Åbo Academy, but that's in Swedish only. So out of these 2 University of Eastern Finland, they have also this very long 5-year program, so bachelor and master both in guidance and counseling. So there's possibility for this kind of program. And sorry?
Yes, I was going to ask, sorry. Is it so that you and we both have done the option 1, right?
I have actually studied this master's program in Jyväskylä.
And in my case, I have studied after being a pedagogue. So I had a master first, and I did the other one. And they are both as valid, aren't they?
Yeah, they are both. They give the same qualification exactly. But in my case, I could not enter this option 1 because I didn't have teacher experience. So you get some points from that. So to master's program, it's possible to enter without no prior work experience required in teaching or anything else. So it's possible to enter there even directly from high school. So typical participants, they can be students who are coming from secondary school, maybe 1 or 2 years after, when they have been thinking what to study. Or there is also career changers or former teachers. So it can be anything. Like when I was studying, the students were from 20 to 60-year-old. So it can be anything in a way. But usually maybe they were not teachers so often. Yeah. Yes, and if you have any questions about this photo, please write to chat and we will answer them as well. Then we took here, this is a lot of text, but I will not read it, but in any case, because now we've been mentioning so many times that we have this in the curriculum and it's written, so we took here some text from the curriculum in case you are interested to look further it. But just to say a few words, like, so here it's mentioning individual counseling, small group counseling, and class-based counseling, they're all mentioned. The role of guardians is mentioned. The work orientation periods, they are mentioned, they are here. Then the next slide is, this is basic education, and then we have, this is secondary, upper secondary education. So basically you can see the same elements, what I just mentioned here, maybe a little bit different emphasis only. And as Outi mentioned, it has been this way from the 70s. So it's already something so embedded in our system, education system, that I would, if I dare to disagree a bit with Outi about this. You mentioned that the biggest challenge would be to keep this in the curriculum, but in my opinion, I think it is so there. It has been so long, 50 years. Everyone actually who is now in work life have had these lessons and can now see if the benefits and so on. So I think it will be there in the curriculum.
Actually, Pia, if I can continue from there shortly, just thought that this is fantastic that you disagree with Outi. And then I also would like to bring, when Outi was asked that what would be the biggest challenge, and I think that, okay, that the curriculum and the framework and everything is set up, but for me, as from my point of view as a practitioner at the moment, being at school, what I can see is that I'm counseling over places and things that are unknown. It's changing so rapidly. So when I'm providing all these experiences and options, the options are multiplying so fast that I have the feeling sometimes that I'm not being able to keep up with the pace. And for example, what Outi was mentioning, that we're having in-service training all the time. So we're supposed, it's an obligation by law that we keep updating our knowledge and our skills and capacities at the pace that life is happening. Sometimes it feels that it's impossible, but we're working on that. We're working. Sorry, I thought I had to add it here.
Yes, it's good. Laia, was it so that now the second part is starting from here?
Yes, this was with Pia now, this was kind of a big general view of what's going on by law on a way, in more detail, maybe more detail than what Outi presented. And then we're going to have now, if you have any questions, that would be very good, but I pass it to Margit to open the forum.
Yes, thank you. So we do have a couple of minutes for some questions. Gretel has a question. If a minor student attends a counseling session and their parents want to know what was discussed, how would you handle this situation, keeping in mind that the information shared during the session is protected by confidentiality?
We can maybe both tell our experiences. So do you, Laia, want to tell first, or?
Yeah, well, in upper secondary school, if a minor, the parents contact a minor and they want to know what we have discussed, I'm by law, I need to inform, I need to let them know that we have a conversation, but still I have to, there are things that the student can consider that they are private. I need to, in Finnish we say tiedottaa. That means give the information that we had a meeting, and I can give general patterns, but details that the student has disclosed in my office, I don't have to, unless it's harm to themselves, or they can harm somebody else. Then I have by law the obligation to report, not only officials, but also the parents. But usually the conversations that the students, because they are part of a process of developing, so I can inform the parents that we've discussed about his choices in the future, or his choices in the studies, or his worries about this and that. but I don't need to disclose that all the details because the privacy of the student is respected.
Yes, that's the official way. And I am thinking if I had this kind of situation, what Gretel described, and during 5 years that I was doing this guidance counseling in basic school, I think I didn't have this kind of situation that parent would have asked something and the student didn't want him to let know. Sometimes, of course, there were situations when parents had been separated and then like handling this situation there when if they were not in good relation like between each other and so on. So those situations were sometimes present, but if I don't remember I had this kind of situation, but I think Laia, you explained it nicely how it goes according to the law. But I always did so that I asked the student, like, so is it okay that I tell this and write this to Vilma system, which is the system we use in Finnish schools, because I always wrote there like a short summary what we spoke about, and they always said, yes, it's okay. Sometimes there were maybe some small detail that I said, I guess that part, I will leave it out. I understand you don't want maybe that to be told, or then they even asked themselves that don't mention this thing, and then I just didn't write it and I wrote more of an overview, but so it never happened that parent would have asked.
Yeah. Actually, Pia just mentioned something really important, and it's the fact that we ask the student and we always say that, okay, I'm gonna say this, is this okay? The permission of the student needs to be there.
Mm-hmm. A second question is from Hele, who is wondering whether career counseling skills development is part of the teacher training program. So that's the basic program, before entering into this 60 CTS point program.
That's a very good and current question, because it used to be, and for some reason I don't know why, now it's not mandatory anymore, it's optional. Mm-hmm. This entirety of career counseling. I don't know the reasons behind that, why they changed it that way, but that's the way it is, at least in Haga-Helia, when you study the teachers program.
Just to inform you that we are really looking for solutions in Estonia. We still miss the full academic qualification for career guidance counseling or career teachers. So we are looking for solutions. I actually also myself noted that you have this opportunity to study in English in Hämeenlinna. Is it like an international group, or is it like local Finns who want to follow the course in English and be more global, have a more global picture, or how it looks like? And what is the opportunity for Estonian teachers to come for that program?
Well, I'm not working there, but what I've heard, I can tell you. I think there were like around 100. There were 100 people who applied. If I remember correctly, they took only 12 or 10, something like that, but very small group, anyways. And I also asked these questions if they are from abroad or Finland, but they were mostly from Finland. Maybe only like a couple were living abroad, so mainly from Finland. And why we have this, it's a good question, because where can you work if you don't speak Finnish as a guidance counselor? Well, Laia, you are the best person to tell that. Well, maybe I give now the floor to Laia, because you have some news.
I'm originally from Barcelona, and I came here as a pure Erasmus product. So, and I became a counselor, but it is different. You have different small schools where you have English streams, and then you need to, of course, be able to do it in English. But I got my qualifications as a counselor from Barcelona, and I got the recognition in Joensuu by university. But it's also now they are also doing it in English, because of course the law is changing from next year on. We're going to have possibility to do upper secondary studies in English, and those students are going to need counselors in English. And also, yes, so basically that is. if I could give a wild guess, and now I'm guessing, usually for foreigners, European people that apply to Finnish applied science universities or universities, the qualifications is that you hold an upper secondary school diploma. And in the case of English programs, you're supposed to be able to justify being a title of proficiency in English, whether it's IELTS or TOEFL or something like that. And then apply. Sometimes it's through a test, sometimes it's through an interview. Each faculty, each institution have their own ways.
Sounds like a potential for a joint initiative for Estonian and Finnish universities, to adapt the program and then cooperate, have a dual program. But we will keep this in mind when encouraging our universities to offer training for our professionals as well. Okay, now we don't have, yes, Kristina has put a link so we can look at it as well. Thank you, Kristina. And let's have a break now. So let's meet 15:06. Let's have the 5 minutes we scheduled and take a glass of water, stretch, and think of some thoughts. That's what made you think the most during the first session. So let's relax now for a couple of minutes. Thank you. Nii, tere tulemast tagasi. Welcome back. Are you ready? Thumbs up, I hope. I hope. Okay, the floor is yours, Pia and Laia.
Okay, thank you. So now we will tell more detail about these different educational levels. And first, I'll tell more about this, how it is to be a career counselor in lower secondary school, which I used to do. So the school decides how guidance is organized. Well, this means many things. Of course, we get this framework and what Outi mentioned, this 76 hours and so on. But in any way, the school can decide how it is divided between 7th, 8th and 9th grade. Some schools don't have any guidance lessons during 7th grade, for example, and others have it during the 3 years. So they can a bit decide it themselves. That's one thing they can decide. Weekly group lessons focus on career education. Yes, so there are these lessons. And I would say that, of course, this depends a lot about the person, but most, actually even the books of career counseling, if you look at the school books, they are more so that on 7th grade, it's self-awareness topics are, of course, there's other topics as well, but mostly self-awareness. And 8th grade, it's exploring different professions or areas of interest. And then 9th grade, it's about making the choice of where to apply next. Because in Finland, they need to make this choice already by February. So because of our system, and we need to put this info in the system, which is then seeing who is going to which school next. Of course, the grades are taken at the end of May when the school is finished, but they really have to they have to make the decision in February. So that's why the beginning of 9th grade is very much thinking about this topic, where to apply next. And about half or more than half, they go to upper secondary school, and then a bit less than half, they apply to vocational institutes. And then we have this familiarization with working life, which is 2 weeks during the 9th grade, and as Outi mentioned, usually 1 week on 8th grade, but there we can also see a bit variation. And Outi mentioned these 2 days during 7th grade. For example, the school where I was, the 7th graders were 2 days in the school cafeteria, but really in the kitchen, and there were all these hats and clothes there. So, but they were kind of very proud they could be there at work, and they were doing everything like putting the food ready and so on. So not just standing there, but actually doing the work itself. But of course, that was because the cafeteria people were also very much into that, and they were very active and interested to guide them. So it depends again, like what kind of school it is. So this familiarization with working life, it's something, actually, one very important thing is that the students apply these places themselves. The school doesn't say like go there or go there. So they have to apply themselves. And this is almost in every school like this. At least first the students try to apply. Of course, then you learn also like these kind of skills. But why is it so easy in Finland? The reason is, as I mentioned before, that everyone that they ask this place, that if they go to a local grocery store, for example, which is usually very, very popular place, who gets to go there. So when they ask there, can I come here and work? Then the person who is replying, it is for sure that he or she has done this during his youth. So in this way, it's not something like they would have to explain, it's this kind of period, and can I just be here and do this and this? So everyone knows this, everyone who has at least gone through the Finnish school system. Of course, we do have many immigrant background people, and then you maybe have to explain a bit more if they are not familiar with this model. And then we have this option, or it has been a bit more than 5 years, this working life-oriented program. So it's in some schools, most schools in Helsinki areas have it, and it's on grades 8 and 9. And in practice, that means that they have even more these working life periods. They can actually have 6 weeks during 1 year. I think some of you attended this Malta seminar in September, and there I spoke about this. So if you were not at Malta and you are interested to hear more about this Teppo model, then I can send you my presentation or like that. I have done a bit research on that topic, so in that way. But if I start talking more, then we will run out of time. So the aim is to help students connect school learning with future opportunities. That's again in the core of the guiding in a way. But that's about lower secondary school, and then we go to next slide.
And then I'll take over this. What happens then in upper secondary school? In upper secondary school, the students are here with us for 3 years. And basically, it's not that we start with they are supposed to do 2 courses, 2 mandatory courses on counseling. And most of the time, the students, just upon arrival, they take the first course, because the first course is going to cover how does the upper secondary school work? What are the credits? What are the points? What subjects they need to take? How are they supposed to do this or that? And that is the first course. So what happens during their school in these 3 years? The second one, the students can freely take it. Sometimes they take it when they are in second year or when they are in senior year. And then this one is more oriented towards the future. What are the options in higher education? What can they continue study? What are their options in the market? What type of professions? What type of careers? How to apply there? And also, it also covers how to take care of their own matriculation exams. And this brings back into what each and every student wants to do and how do they have their path. And of course, these are the 2 courses, but there's also the individual personalized counseling one-to-one, because of course, I'm not able to provide counseling for everybody tailor-made unless I'm meeting the students one-to-one. And that's what happens in the upper secondary school. In vocational education or professional education, which is also completely parallel to this upper secondary school, it's also 3 years. What they are doing in the counseling is work related to well-being and supporting the students. And also there's a lot of guidance in the work-based learning periods. They spend like almost 1/3 of their time in their on the job in professional placements. What if we compare upper secondary and vocational school, what we can see is that there's a lack of resources. They have more students per counselors in vocational education that we have here in upper secondary a school. In Helsinki area, in the upper secondary schools of Helsinki area, we have around what I mentioned before, 250 students per counselor that we are responsible, that we take care of. The number sounds big, but we try to manage.
Yeah, and also if I can say one more thing regarding like vocational institutes is that it also varies a lot according to different area. Like for example, yesterday I was visiting this one vocational institute, and they were studying to be this restaurant and cooking and baking, these kind of areas. And I spoke there with the guidance counselor, and he said that the work is there are students who want to quit studies, who want to drop out, but in their case, students who study restaurant, they don't want to drop out. So they really they want to be there, and they have very good atmosphere. And he said, Pia, my work is very easy. I was surprised, but then he explained it this way, that usually it's like you have to really call them and come to school and blah, blah, but in his case, they are very motivated to be there. So, but I guess it really depends about what area it is. And higher education, I guess this might be more or less the same as in Estonia. So, the career counselors, it's more about adjusting the courses, that you look which courses to take together with the student. And you have these optional courses that are concentrating the career guidance. So more or less the same, I could imagine. Universities of applied sciences, they differ a bit in that quite often the career counselors, they are also teachers. So they can be teaching something and then doing career counseling. We also, in Haga-Helia, we have also those who are doing only guidance counseling, but more often it's so that they are also teachers at the same time.
Then if we think, before we go into the practical, things to consider overall, like kind of to wrap it up a little bit, it's like we cannot stress enough that in Finland, the career counsel, the guidance counseling and career counseling is a lifelong process that starts when the students turn 7. I want to add one more thing. When Pia mentioned that the students, they in 9th grade, they need to choose and select. It's the first time by the Finnish law that the student is the one deciding. It's not the parents, it's not the teachers. And sometimes we actually run into this type of situations that the student wants to apply here, here, and here. And the parents are in panic that, oh my goodness, I didn't want my child to go here. I wanted my child to go there. And the law supports the student. So this is also one of the big things that the counselors will need to support and work with the student and the parents, and that they understand each other, that this time is your child's turn because he's 15, so they have the right to choose. This leads us to bring how strong, how important is the collaboration and the teamwork. So there's parents, there's the teachers, there's the employers, there's other partners. And for that, it's the schools, we're not alone, we're not isolated, we're cooperating with and we're having partnerships with local employers and municipalities. And then they provide those work-based opportunities that Pia was mentioning. As a counselor in the schools, we are coordinating between teachers and parents. So that is also a strong role. And we also need to collaborate and participate in national and regional guidance networks to stay updated and to try to promote and bring up the best practices that we have. And be always aware of the policy changes, which they happen all the time. And yes, challenges and future directions that we may have. Well, what I mentioned before, that we must adapt all the time to an evolution that we are not even aware. We cannot tell what's going to happen. We still need to prepare those students for that. And for example, the easiest example is digital tools. I mean, three years ago, we didn't have half of the stuff we have now. let alone 10 years ago when, or 25 years ago when, for example, I studied, or that's why we need to keep up our training all the time. There's new things coming up, AI or the green guidance. I think Pia knows a lot about that. So if you're curious, sorry, Pia, I'm exposing you, but she is a bit of an expert on green guidance. And then how to do personalized approaches and how do we assure that every student is guided properly and in an individualized way. But I think you guys want to hear a bit more about the next thing that we're bringing up.
So practical experiences. We are telling now some experiences from our work, my old work, and then Laia is telling what she's doing currently. So as mentioned already many times, we have these one-on-one sessions, small group sessions, and group sessions. So we have gone through these, I think, already many times. And now an example from this small group sessions. Some people say small group has to be like, I don't know, 8 persons or something like this. You can find different numbers from different literature. So what I was doing, these small group sessions, they were only like 3 to 5 students. And I think 3 to 4 is actually ideal if you do this with students who are around 14 years old, as I was doing. So I had this kind of papers printed ready for the students when they arrived to my room. And there were, for example, let's say 4 students. And then they wrote first these 2 parts there, like everyone wrote their own papers, nice things and people in my life, and then also hobbies and things I like to do. And they listed those things there. And then after that, this is how we see you. Then we wrote, like other people wrote what they think, how they see the person. And of course, I had this list of adjectives to choose, characters to choose from, because it's hard for that age of person to invent them right away like that. So they were writing there some nice adjectives, and already that made nice discussions and some surprising comments. And then after that, one person went out of the room, and then we were thinking for him or her that what kind of profession he could be at. Where would we see him working? Okay, of course I had beforehand told that this is more like a fun, don't take it too seriously and so on. So I made these comments very clear for them. And then we were making a list, usually like 5 different professions or so, and then the person came back to the room and saw this list, and we were asking like, how does he feel when he sees this, and could he see herself in some of these professions? And it was quite nice exercise I wanted to share with you. And you can of course change these titles, especially the first 2 boxes, and write there whatever you feel like. But this is one example of a group counseling session that can be done. And I think this one was working exceptionally good. Of course, what is hard in the Finnish setting is the way that the schedule is created for the students. Because every time when I took 4 students to my room, then I had to somehow agree it with the teacher, so that they were away from that lesson, because this usually took 1 hour to do. But those are the challenges that you can overcome.
Then we thought about, okay, let's bring up an example of a bit of a bigger group counseling. So this is an exercise that I've done many times with my groups, either when I get a new group, or, for example, when I get a group that is going to transition somewhere. So students that are going to go into study in university, it's just to give them to set the minds a little bit and understand what's going on. So usually if I have a class of 35 or 30 students, I divide it into 3 groups. I want smaller groups that are big. So I don't want 3 to 4 students. I want 6 to 10 students, for example. I wrote here students, but it can be done with adults. It can be done with anyone. So the idea is that they write their names in different Post-it notes. So each letter, one Post-it note. And then they must arrange in the group all their names in a crossword. So vertical or horizontal, they're supposed to be able to read the names. And this is not done on the table. This is an important thing. This is done standing up, and they're supposed to make this crossword in a wall or in a door or in a window, so that they are not sitting. Sometimes when we're working, sitting down on tables, our energy kind of reduces. And what we want is to be activated. So it's important to do this exercise standing up. And then the idea is that, well, they arrange them, and when they have arranged it, then we start a discussion. And the students can decide what name they use. They sometimes, for example, if my name is Stephanie, I can put all my letters as Stephanie, but I can also put Steffi or Steph. Okay, and this type of exercise is bringing a fantastic example that we come into situations with our own background, our own baggage, our own knowledge, our own skills. In this case, our own letters of the name. Who's responsible for giving you the name? I'm sorry, but your parents. Some people might decide that choose this, they might change the name, but most people are using a name that it's been given to them. And this is the same happens in life. You come to new situations, to a work with your own background, with things that you have decided, but also with lots of things that you haven't, with skills that you have earned or you have developed, but also with some skills and some competencies that they are innate on you or they are given to you. Okay, and we are all different. And the fact that we're all playing the same rules, they all have to put their names on the wall in this same crossword. I come to upper secondary school and I come and I have maybe dyslexia, or I'm really good in mathematics, but I still have to play the same rules as the next person. And it's this exercise, I take it to open up their eyes into seeing how we have potential, we have a baggage, we have knowledge, and it's all different. But we are all playing the same game. This exercise can be applied to career finding, to studying new studies, to continue with the studies, okay? And the idea is that they are exploring a little bit that, okay, I'm coming to play this game, and what is my position? What do I have in my back? What are the letters I have in my name? And what will I have on the table? So this is just one small exercise. Let's go and take a look at something else. Another thing that throughout lower secondary, upper secondary schools, we're having constant presentations for students about the different careers and the study options. We explain what is, most of the time, of course, we have digital books, and in lower secondary, we also have they're both physical books and digital books related to counseling. But because of the speed of the world and the pace that we are developing, the books are not keeping to pace. So we also have to prepare a lot of material by ourselves. In my case, because I'm also counseling some groups in English, so I have to have all the materials prepared as well in English, and I need to build up myself. So this was just a small glimpse of a presentation for upper secondary schools regarding university system. How is the bachelor's, master's, the PhD system that we have in Finland? Finnish law tells me as a counselor that I'm supposed to provide a general view of the Finnish system, but also it's up to each school, each counselor, and it depending on the students that you have, that sometimes the students need information about what happens when they are applying abroad somewhere, some university and so on. And we try to help as much as possible. So all sorts of PowerPoint presentations and videos and links we are also offering. And then we thought that, okay, but let's go to individual counseling. What do I do when I sit with a student here in my office? I'm in my office at the moment. So what happens when I have a student that doesn't have a clue what they want to do, for example? They are completely lost. For example, they might be in a senior year. So then that means that they might have to apply somewhere else, or they might like to spend a year off, but still they don't know what to do, because that's the fast answer. What do you want to do? I don't know. So what I have done, I have different versions. I have it in Finnish and I have it in English. So I have a huge list of more than 400 different professions, just listed, A, B, C, D, like you can see here in the picture. And I'm asking the students not to do it in my office because they need their time, but they take those 3 or 4 pages of listed professions, go home and overline or cross anything that they are not interested, that it's like a meh, or that they are allergic, or never, I don't want to do this ever in my life, or I don't have any interest. They just cross it out. And then once they have done that, in few days, I ask them back. And then we take a look at the list. And sometimes we can see very interesting things. The list is done alphabetically. So then that means that we don't see kind of groups. But sometimes we have a student that comes back, and out of those 400, there is 12 things that they are interested in. Sometimes it can be 2, but sometimes it can be 50. And based on the answers that they are giving me, we start. It's kind of a carrot for starting a cookie, for starting a conversation. And from there, we can see the different, maybe possibly different fields related or not. This list also includes professions that they have never thought of. And it's provoking. So you can also take this list and use it in small group and ask them that they can discuss, okay, what did you write? What did you put here? Or what was that about? Oh, did you ever hear about this? Oh, I have a cousin that has done this, or I never heard it. Oh, the presentation that we went the other day on university, they were talking about this. Shall we check it? So on a way, it's provoking. It's expanding that they think a little bit further. The next question would be that, Laia, do they find an answer? Sometimes they might find fields of interest, and that's already thumbs up. That's already a step forward. Sometimes they don't, and it's okay. It means that we need to look deeper. But the idea is to provoke a discussion, a dialogue with the student, or actually challenge them to consider things that maybe until now they haven't. What I notice very often is that the students right away, instead of when they see something that they don't understand, that they are not familiar with that profession, what do? They go and check, okay, what is this about? And if you do this in a group of 3 to 4 students, usually it's very engaging. It is very engaging. Anyway, so I thought that I bring this kind of example. But if we move a little bit further, then we have what already Pia and Outi brought up is this contextualized have I passed now? Yes. Contextualized learning, because it's a huge role. It has a huge role in counseling in Finland. So basically we have this familiarization of working life that the students are having 2 weeks in lower secondary, usually in 9th grade. Many schools, as Pia said, in 8th grade as well, they can have 1, and sometimes in 7th grade, 1 or 2 days in the kitchen of the school or something like that. My kids, for example, had it in the kitchen of the school and in 9th grade, but nothing in 8th grade. And then they have this program, working-oriented education. And the Pia was mentioning that everybody can apply, but this is meant for students that, studying, for example, can be hard. They might have academic challenges, but also for those students that don't understand or have difficulties to think that there is actually something else than studying. I would like to explain, for example, that here my daughter participating in the STEP program, because for her there was only studying, school. School was the most important thing, and it was very hard for her to understand that there's something else apart from studying. And so she participated, she got in, she got to try to go to, it was 5 to 7 different working life weeks. She got to go to the ministry, she got to work in a kindergarten, she got to work in a store, she got to work in the TV, and she got very different views of what is out there. And at that time, she didn't know what to do after school. So it was really, really positive in her case. We also have experiences that students that they are not so motivated academically, the fact that you're opening them doors for different professions incentivates them to improve and to continue with their studies until the compulsory time is over. This bringing the reality into the class, into the guidance. It's also what happens with the visits that we have we have visits to, I bring my students in upper secondary school to visit different universities, to visit different lines, different vocational schools. We also invite experts to come to us and explain, hey, what are you doing? What is your life like? For example, tomorrow we're having a day here at the upper secondary school where everything freezes, and we're having around 30 different professionals of different fields with universities degrees and without, just normal people from outside, and we grab them, bring them to the class, and they tell us about their path. What have you done in your life? How come you have ended here? What are you doing in your everyday? So they hear their experiences from normal people, from their professions, yes. And then also in vocational schools, especially, the internships and the work placements are a huge, huge part of the studies. So it's 1/3 at least, it happens inside the working places. So to contextualize all this information that we are providing, it's also a very important thing of the counseling. So not everything stays on the theoretical part. I feel that in overall, the counseling can be, let's put it that way, can be overwhelming. We're providing a lot of information about what's going on to you in your life now, what the places that you need to look at forward in the future, and how things are changing and how it can be. And at the end of the day, what we are creating is giving the tools for them so that they can make decisions, or that they can focus towards the goals that they decide that are important for them.
Okay, and we are so right in schedule. So this is the final slide, actually, before our contact info. So we have prepared for you some links that maybe are useful. Just I mention one thing. If you want to raise up something else, you can. But I want to mention that this development of AI is starting to see also in these pages. For example, Osaamistarvekompassi, the second last one, it's a page which actually is using AI, for example, taking the data from all the job advertisements in 5 of the biggest resources from Finland, taking all the adjectives from there, and if you press a certain area, you can see what kind of skills are needed. It's hard to explain without showing, but I mean just the point that this AI is starting to see. And there was another link also. The last one, actually, Osaamispolku. This is totally a new website, maybe not working yet, but I've been using this beta version as this tryout person, and it's quite amazing site, because now we can really see how this AI is working in the field of career counseling. I'm not actually saying that everything what you see on this site is good, but yeah, I'm sure you have similar experiences from Estonia, and it's nice if you can share those websites as well now or in the future if you have. I don't know, Laia, do you want to say something about these links?
No, I just that every counselor has to adjust the counseling, but not usually to what you think you're gonna, what you see available at the moment, but usually at what are the students needing at that time individually. But yes, we hope when we made this list with Pia, we just thought that those are just some resources that might give you an idea about tools that we are using currently.
Yes, we would like to thank you. And if you have any questions, it would be nice. Margit can maybe take the floor.
Thank you. There is a comment in a chat from Odi. It's important that the students also learn about these information sources and learn to look for information themselves. So information search is one of the career management skills, isn't it? Yes, absolutely. And then Tatiana has a question. I read for the interpretation's purposes. Do I understand correctly that 2 weeks in real workplaces means 2 full weeks actual working? How welcoming are the companies to invite students for that? Are the companies supported to encourage that?
Yes, 2 weeks, 2 full weeks of actual working, but 6 hours a day maximum. The students can do maximum of 30 hours a week. How are these 30 hours divided? It doesn't really matter. Usually it's 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours for 2 weeks. They cannot get paid for that. It's they are getting familiar with the working placement, so they cannot get paid for that. And the companies are really welcoming. For example, my son actually, he's currently doing the TET, this working placement. He's not even in Finland, because even Finland has prepared documents for students when they want to go abroad. He's in a synchrotron, in a particle accelerator down in Spain. His classmates are all over. It can be from supermarkets to pharmacies. Hospitals, I've had some students in hospitals, but they're a bit more, it's not so easy because of safety and health reasons. And until recent years, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, it was also possible, for example, to go to the airport, but there has been some limitations nowadays because they need special passes to be behind the like inside, and the shops outside. It's still okay, but usually most companies have heard about it, and if not, the schools have prepared documents that explain what is the placement and what is the responsibilities of the student and how is the insurance, because they are assured by the school. So how are they covered? So it's not a problem.
And they are usually welcoming exactly for the reason that it has been done like this for more than 50 years now. So they know it for sure. They have done it themselves. And they know it's like this kind of social responsibility that they have. Of course, sometimes they say no, because if they don't have time to guide, that's the reason. Or then if they already have somebody there in the company. And it's not only companies, it can be associations, as mentioned, ministries. There's always this one kid who is going to parliament.
Yes.
Also. Yeah.
Great
and actually cool for the companies, because very often if a student goes to a shop and performs well and they are happy with them, sometimes they invite them for summer jobs. So it is a way to link their real life as well. Very often the students that have gone to supermarkets, they do the summer job for a month, then later on that year or later on, and they get certificates, so they have been in the trainings.
And it's very nice to go and see these students when they are at these trainings, because then you can really see that those who maybe are not academically doing so well, but then of this work environment, they can really shine, and it's great to see them like changing that way.
Yes. Indeed, having the job, work experience, and knowing what is going on in real life, it's really important. And we know that the global studies also confirm that this is a very efficient way to encourage people to think what is happening outside the school basically. But we have a question from Kristina. Is it somehow regulated how many students can there be for one guidance counselor? Are the individual sessions compulsory? And how many per student?
It is regulated, but it's a recommendation number. Mm-hmm. So the recommended number is around, or should be, we are aiming at 150 students per counselor. And if we think of lower secondary and upper secondary, around the same. But the reality is that, for example, here in the capital area, the numbers go up to 200, 250. Mm-hmm. And it has been decreasing with the years. When maybe 15 years ago, it was 250, then we went down to 200, now it's 150, but our numbers are high. Mm-hmm. And yes, the individual sessions, it's not that it's compulsory and need to have a particular amount of individual sessions, is that I have to provide it according to the needs of students. So, for example, in upper secondary school at the moment, I'm having individual sessions with every student I have. And then with the third years, I have it 2 to 3 times a year. And with the first years, 2 to 3 times a year. But then there's students that come 5 times, 6 times. There's students that come 10 times. There's students that every 3 weeks I have them sitting right here. And it's okay. I organize my time. I'm only compelled to be in class for those 2 courses that I have throughout the year. And the rest of my time, of my 38 hours, I can decide how I use them. So it goes most of the time for individual counseling and also for doing the registrations for the matriculation exams or checking that the students have the grades that they need and that the papers go accordingly.
Mm. Yeah, yes, and I can add one more thing, that if you meant that if it's mandatory for the student, because at least in lower secondary school there are sometimes students who don't want to come, but let's say it's 1 per school, it's very rare, but they don't have to come there, so I'm not like forcing, but maybe it's like 1 student per year. And usually they are students who they have been students who know where they will apply next, and they maybe don't want to just skip their lesson, they want to attend the lesson. And then I'm like, okay, I know you, I know your parents, I've known you since 7th grade, so I know the case and it's okay, I understand, no worries. But
Audi is giving helpful reflections in the chat as well. She's specifying that this recommendation about the number of students per practitioner is recommended by the Finnish Guidance Council Association. And she also mentions that her own institute is actually happy to receive students for a work experience. So it's not only like a companies like very practical work, but also different sectors. Okay, and then we have one question from Kai, who is asking about the satisfaction, whether and how it is measured. Satisfaction with guidance practices, guidance services, both the young people and parents. What kind of monitoring or evaluation initiatives you launch in school? Then I guess Kai is wondering about.
I'm thinking now this national health surveys, which are done in each school. Actually, is it every second year? You can OT again, write more if you remember, or Laia. But those are very good. They have some kind of question. I don't remember the exact wording, but it is something related to this issue, that how satisfied you are to the work of. It's not in that the phrasing is not in this way, but in a way you get the idea also that what kind of do you actually. It's mentioned this way, that do you get enough support from the student counselor or something like that. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's a national nationally
survey.
National level ask from every student.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at results, you can choose only like some at least communes. I'm not sure if you can choose schools if you don't work in that school, but at least if you work in the school, you can get.
Yeah, and just to clarify. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify that in Estonia we will have a new regulation since September this next school year, and the monitoring of guidance at school level is included now in the law as well. So we have to come up with the solutions there as well. What are the meaningful indicators and how to actually run it so that it will be also
for us at the municipal level, at the municipality level, which is they are the education providers, they are also having their own surveys about the well-being, and part of it's included that how is that guidance given, and if it's sufficient or not, and so on. Yes.
Okay. Then we have a question from Lana, who is wondering whether you do any tests, any normative tests about personal traits.
Matching. We do matching.
Yeah.
Laia, do you do matching?
No, I don't do any. No, I don't do any testing at all. I might do exercises, but this is again a very personal. Every counselor decides what type of tools they use. So it can be, we have tests available, we have surveys available, we have in the digital materials certain type of questionnaires that if we want we can use. But it's up to each counselor how do they use them and if they want to use them. We don't have anything at the national level. And for example, in the past 5 years, I haven't used a single one.
And on the other hand, I'm sure there are counselors who are doing all the possible tests they can get. So it depends on the counselor. I was myself doing some, but I was mostly thinking not the end results, but I was seeing some meaningful there when the students were answering that when they think, and if we always, it has to be so that afterwards we discussed, and even in individual discussions we can discuss and look only the way it has answered, not the final result if it gives any, but some individual questions.
Do you want to also comment on Teve's questions? Why specifically 2 days for the first internship and not 3 or 4? It's a matter of,
It says 2 days seems too short time to proper insight in the profession of the workers. The idea is that the students have come, they have just suffered or undergone a transition from comprehensive school, from basic education to the lower secondary education. So sometimes, so that there is not a gap of counseling. So what Pia mentioned before, that the schools decide whether the students get the counseling in 7th, in 8th, or in 9th. And then sometimes it's an easy way to start with something short and tiny, the 1 or 2 days at the kitchen of the school or in whatever other facility. So it's not a regulation that it has to be 2 days. And then what they want to do is that the law says that basically 2 weeks has to be done in lower secondary school, and it's usually done in 9th grade. And then this extra week that they might have in 8th grade is completely up to the schools. And then some schools decide to do this first day. So varies, but there is it's not an obligation. And yes, it would be fine to have 3-4 days, but the problem is that these students have just arrived to the 7th grade and then suddenly break the week for them and have 4 days in a placement. It can be pretty disruptive. And remember that we need to remember that all the students in the school on the 7th grade do it. So we're not placing 2 students at a time. We're placing a lot of people, and that's why throughout the year take 2 days per student. It's much more feasible than thinking that okay, I'm going to put 3 to 4 students in the kitchen of the school, for example.
It's quite a workload, isn't it, to find all these opportunities and to to have the network to turn to. Yeah,
Yes.
but glad to hear that the doors are open by the employers as well, so that you must have a good partnership with them. And Audi also comments that often in grade 7 the students do their work experience placement in the workplace of their parents or another familiar adult. The idea is also to see your parents in a new light as a professional. Helps when it comes to discussing educational choices later on. And she also adds that the subject pre-education is not graded. So it's an important aspect as well.
It's not graded, but it's evaluated. So you're supposed to, in the lower secondary school, it's supposed to be mentioned in the certificate, and in the upper secondary, it's given a pass or fail. But because it's a compulsory subject, the 2 courses, they are given a pass or usually pass, because otherwise you don't pass the upper secondary school. But no numbers. So no, usually the grading system from upper secondary school is grades 4 to 10, but for counseling is an S, which means pass.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. We have 5 more minutes, so I would like to conclude. It's really great to have such passionate practitioners who are so openly sharing their experience to other countries. I'm really thankful to all of you, Audi, Pia and Laia. Thanks a lot for coming on board, and really grateful. I hope we can continue. We will definitely make all the links and the recording available, so you can closely look at them. May I give a big applause, please, colleagues? Give an applause in the virtual form to our trainers today. Oh, bravo! Thanks a lot. So I have some pieces of information I wanted to highlight at the end, that actually this event is part of the much bigger initiative. We have a Global Careers Month going on, so and then it is dedicated to awareness raising in career guidance and about the sustainability in career guidance and exchanging practices. And now I would like to switch into Estonian language. Thanks. et meil on käimas globaalne karjäärikuur ja tõesti
the Global Careers Month, and we're raising awareness about career services, why and how they help us to find our potential and help the society to progress. So please follow the website. There are quite a number of events listed all over the world related to Global Careers Month. So stay tuned, and please have a look at the Euroguidance Facebook website. So we post information about our events. In addition, I would also like to draw your attention to the article published by the Nordic countries. We have a short summary that we've written with my colleague Liis, and this helps you to understand this survey that Audi talked about. So we have a short summary in Estonian. So in our seminar invitation, we referenced this article. I would also like to draw attention to this publication. The Ministry of Education ordered it from the Career Counselors Association. This is another link that we have posted in our chat. So these are guidelines for you when you're starting a career counseling system in a school. So hopefully this material will be helpful to you. And this is the reason why I asked Audi to give us the Finnish example, so we can learn about the Finnish guidelines and improve the Estonian materials. And last but not least, our professional development and sharing experience is important. I would like to share information about a conference that the University of Tartu is organizing on December 8th. All education practitioners are invited. Anyone who supports and counsels students, do join us. We will have presenters, Greta Royce from Norway, we will also have a speaker from Malta. So this will be the international experience in Estonia. So this was my short advert break, but now I would like to give you the QR code and the link for our feedback. Please do give us feedback. How did we do? So in the future, how Euroguidance and our partners help you to develop, and what are the skills that you need, and what other web seminars we could organize. If you don't have this book about career theories and models in Estonian, then in the feedback form you can give us your email address and we can get in touch with you how we can give you the book. But I wish you all professional development and applause to our speakers. Thank you to our presenters. And this is it for today. Thank you for coming, and let's be in touch and let's support each other. Thank you and goodbye.